Good morning, Wind Chasers. Welcome to another episode of Chasing the Wind. I'm Pastor Mark. Let's see how the Spirit is moving this week. So, just to share a little something that happened, and God just shows up. I love how J.D. Walt calls serendipity. What does he call them? Holy accidents. Those things that just kind of happen, and you're like, hey, wait a minute here, God's in this somehow. So anyway, we have at our church on Thursday night a little group that meets, and we watched The Chosen. If you have not watched that, I highly recommend it. You may have watched it and I don't like it, but that's okay. I do, and I get a lot out of it. And anyway, we were watching a couple weeks ago, we were watching an episode, and there was a question that one of the characters asked of Jesus, and he was kind of doing some carpentry, woodworking stuff. And of course, his earthly dad was a carpenter. And so Jesus doing this, and this character asked him what he did, like for a living or whatever, and why is he camping out here and living whatever. And he says, and I'm not going to get the quote, so I'm paraphrasing here. The line is to the effect, "My Father has bigger things for me to do than my trade." And that's one of those verses God speaks to me through movies and lines and stuff like that. I held on to that for a minute, and so I thought that's going to be one of our discussion points with our group. So we get done watching the episode, and I pitched that thing out there. I say, hey, here's this stuck out at me. Maybe God's doing something. Let's talk about it for a minute. And so they're talking about, the bigger things that God has are beyond what we do in our daily living, what we do for our daily job or our responsibilities or whatever. And of course, it's talking about the things of God. It's about, evangelism and discipleship and all the, compassion, all these different things that go along with being a follower of Christ. And one of the participants looked at me and said, well, Pastor, your trade, quote unquote, is the bigger things of God, the works of God, that you do that, and said to me, what would the bigger things be for you? Whoa! Well, blow me down, Olive. That's one of those questions. I love them. I love those questions as long as they're asked of someone else and not of me. But folks, I have sat with that, and I am sitting with it, and I am trying to be in dialogue with Jesus about it. What, Jesus, if my trade is a preacher boy, preacher man, and a pastor, and I am about the things of God, and the things of God are pretty lofty things. I'm not making say, oh, I'm so special, but no, I'm. What would be the bigger things? I mean, Jesus was, I'm not a carpenter. I can fix a fence a little bit if I have to, a wooden one, but those sort of things. But it's not my trade. And so, and he was talking to a little kid who was the character that asked him this question. So he was trying to keep it kind of simple, but yet, honest and just what it was. But it's had me sitting in this conversation with Jesus. What are the greater things you have? Is it enlarge my territory? Is it going to be expanding as you guys share these videos, which you do? I know you do, and I am so grateful that you do. You like and share and all sorts of things and that sort of thing. That is a bigger thing than just, I thought, well, Lord, I pastor a church, but Is there do you have something bigger? Not that I'm looking to leave my church, but are there other things that he has me wanting me to do? Places that I have not even imagined going to. Who knows? Different things that he wants me to do with regards to videos or whatever. Who knows? I don't know. I'm like, God, what is it? What is it? Tell me. Pick me, except for here am I, send my sister, Lord, if it means going to somewhere I don't want to go. No, I'm joking on that. So I'm gonna let you think about this, Wind Chasers, a little bit, and ask yourself the question, and ask God the question. Be in conversation with him. Lord, What are the bigger things you have for me than just my job? Which, by the way, that is not to dismiss your job. If you are a nurse, you are a disciple of Christ, skillfully disguised as a nurse. You have a ministry to do that. If you are a teacher, you definitely have a ministry to do it. If you're a police officer, you have a ministry unto that and unto self. If you are a counselor or whatever, we don't compartmentalize. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that if we surrender every aspect of our life to the Lord, He will show us the bigger things. And those bigger things are the things that He has for us to do in any given moment. Those serendipity moments when He says, hey, here's someone I'm putting in front of you. I want you to minister to him. That might be the bigger thing that God has for you to do. So, just giving you something to think about. So why don't you think about it and pray about it? And I will see you the next time on Chasing the Wind. Until next time, keep chasing the wind because the wind is chasing you. Grace and peace. I'm Pastor Mark.